In the early 70s, two friends named Henry Emily and William Aston decided to start a family restaurant called Fredbear's Family Diner, featuring animatronics to entertain kids. The secret sauce behind their success was that William and Henry designed the animatronics to be able to open up and allow someone to enter them. This allowed William and Henry, who at this point were still small business owners, to get inside the suits, known as Fredbear and Spring Bussy. They could then take them off the stage and actually entertain the kids up close. This proved insanely popular, and the restaurant took off. It should be noted that because the animatronic suits need to have empty space inside their torsos for the humans to step into, the motors powering them were placed inside their rear ends, which had to be bigger to accommodate this. William took to calling them Asimatronics. Surprisingly, the name stuck. Speaking of children, William himself had 3 kids: Michael, Elizabeth, and Evan. Michael was a bit of a bully. He would wear a mask of one of the other animatronics and padded pants, and twerk violently at his brother to freak him out really bad. One day, however, the bullying went too far. Michael, with some friends, grabbed Evan and put him closer and closer to the Asimatronic Freddy Fazbear's fat-ass cheeks. Freddy was in the middle of a performance and was dancing. This caused his butt to gyrate wildly, and as Michael and his friends held Evan's face closer and closer, laughing all the while, Freddy's mighty ass cheeks clapped down hard on Evan's head, crushing his skull. He was rushed to the hospital and lived in a coma for a few days before finally succumbing to his wound. William was heartbroken, blaming himself and vowing to put Evan back together. He began conducting experiments to bond a child's soul to one of the Asimatronics. But what he didn't know was that Evan's soul had already bonded to the Fredbear suit. William began to design a brand new state-of-the-art robot named Circus Booty. Her features included singing, ice cream, which did not come out of the butt, and it is not called ass cream. But most deviously, Circus Booty included special programming to recognize when only one child was in the room, at which point it would open its chest cavity, grabbing the child and crushing it inside. Knowing this, William does everything he can to keep his daughter, Elizabeth, away from Circus Booty. However, this only made Elizabeth want to meet her even more, and unfortunately, one day, while William was distracted, Elizabeth snuck off to see Circus Booty, who proceeded to do exactly what she was designed for. And, just as William had designed, Elizabeth's soul bonded with Circus Booty. One child dying due to an accident is something you can ignore, but 2 is a trend. Henry Emily got suspicious and uncomfortable and ended up kicking William out of the company. In return, William started to spiral. Knowing that something was up, Henry Emily begins to fear that he'll try something, so he bars him from entering the restaurant and builds the Cutlet, a much thinner but thick where it counts robot with the primary function of protecting Henry Emily's daughter, Charlie. Coincidentally, it's also one of the most disturbing looking machines.
But for real, why does it look like that, Henry?
Either out of retaliation or just madness, William decides to kill Henry Emily's daughter. Unfortunately, some shenanigans happen, and the Cutlet is prevented from its primary function one day because some assholes put a box on top of another box.
Also, how is the Cutlet supposed to protect her if it can't even lift the box off another box? What is it supposed to do?
One day, William comes to the restaurant, finds Charlie, and kills her in an alley behind the restaurant. The Cutlet eventually breaks free and runs outside to find her. However, the rain causes the puppet to slowly malfunction, but not before it cuddles up with Charlotte's body, allowing her soul to bond with it. Also around this time, Michael is full of guilt for his brother's death, and also begins investigating his father's work. Somehow, William is able to launch his own location, named Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, and begins to disappear children to test his soul bonding theory. He kills 5 kids under the guise of a security guard, and their souls bond to the animatronics of Freddy Fazbear, Booty, Kula, Foxy, and the original Fredbear costume, also known as Golden Freddy, which at this point has 2 souls in it. Blinded by their rage, the animatronics possessed by the murdered children try to kill anybody dressed in a security outfit, which ends up being the plot of several games. Against all the fucking odds, a regular Joe Schmo security guard puts up with this for a whole week. I guess he couldn't find a job in this economy. Jeremy is then asked to work a day shift, which probably sounded a hell of a lot better. Unfortunately for him, he was asked to stand behind an animatronic to make sure it didn't harm one of the kids. However, the animatronic possessed by the murderous child saw him in his security guard outfit and tried to clap his head between its cheeks. Jeremy pulled back, but it wasn't fast enough, and he lost the frontal lobe of his brain. This would be known as the ass clap of 87.
Was that the ass clap of 87?
Jumping forward to 1993 in the events of the original game, what is likely Michael Aston under the alias Mike Shit shows up to work as a nighttime security guard to find any clues about what his father has been up to. Surprisingly, nothing major happened in this game. The location did, however, close. By this point, William Aston has been suspected several times over as being behind the missing children cases. However, because investigators couldn't find the bodies of the missing children, he was never convicted. So, he goes back to the original location to hide the evidence and work on another project. William began taking apart the 5 animatronics so he could dispose of the bodies trapped inside. Little did he know, they were haunted. The ghosts of the children began to chase William. He was scared out of his mind and running for his life, until he had one final, cruel idea. He would hide in the old spring bussy suit. The children, traumatized from their murders, did not want to approach him. William let out a cruel laugh, believing that he had won, that he was finally safe. However, the room was incredibly damp. Water was dripping from the old, decrepit ceiling, and some of it landed on the suit, causing a malfunction in which all of the suit's springs instantly pierced into him. He did not die quickly, however, instead slowly perishing in a most painful and karmic way. After everything that happened, Henry Emily decided to shut down the restaurants, even sealing off the room which had William Aston's body locked inside the spring bussy suit. Unbeknownst to everyone, William's soul had bonded with the spring bussy suit, his body still rotting inside. And many of the animatronics were sent to an underground storage facility, which rented them out for children's birthday parties. Which honestly is a pretty buck-wild business model, but whatever, go off capitalism, I guess. Michael Aston found out that his sister's soul was still trapped down there, and goes to try and help her. However, he is tricked, and an amalgamation of a bunch of souls stuck in suits called Innard gets him into a room with a big machine that can take the endoskeletons out of the animatronics. This machine is called the Pooper. Michael got pooped, and Innard injects themselves into Michael's body. Innard then used his body to escape the facility. Over time, Michael's body began to decompose, and Innard is pooped out into the sewage system. In some fucking miracle fashion, Michael either survives or has his soul inhabit his decomposed-ass body, continues to live on. Time for a time skip! It's now the year of our Lord 2023, and in what many would argue is poor fucking taste, a company opens up a haunted house called Fredbear's Fright. Michael Aston, still trying to get to the bottom of everything, begins to work there as a nighttime security guard. Initially, there were no actual living machines that could hunt and kill him here, just the ghosts of the dead that could still scare the fuck out of you. But plot twist. The company owning Fredbear's Fright knocked down the wall sealing William away and find the old spring bussy suit, which is still possessed by Aston. And after being left to rot for decades, he is free again. Michael survives the week and begins to burn down the building to try and finally end his father. However, he is unsuccessful, and Billiam Aston is once again free on the world. Then come the events of FNAF 6, the series' climactic conclusion, which wraps up all the loose ends, until they decided to cash in and make a few more games that kind of undermine the story that they built up so far. Anyway, the game features you playing as Michael Aston once again, working at a now franchised Fredbear's Pizzeria, where you gather more and more animatronics which keep showing up outside the building each night. If you're able to survive while gathering more and more of them night after night, then the true ending is unlocked, in which it's revealed that the entire restaurant's purpose was a setup by Henry Emily. He opened this location because he knew it would attract the souls of all the children trapped in various machines. And it worked. Michael successfully gathered them all in the restaurant, and Henry reveals that he has rigged the building to burn down, with him, Michael, Billiam Aston still in the spring bussy suit, and all the other spirits, finally freeing them from their torment on this planet. And the series ends in what many fans agree is a pretty metal speech given by Henry Emily.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Elizabeth, if you still even remember that name. But I'm afraid you've been misinformed. You are not here to clap some cheeks, nor have you been called here by the individual you assume, although you have, indeed, been called. You have all been called here, into a labyrinth of buns and backsides, duffs and derrieres, a labyrinth with no end, a butt with no backside. You don't even realize that you're trapped. Your hindquarters have driven you in endless circles, chasing the sounds of keisters clapping in some unseen chamber, always seeming so near, yet somehow out of reach. But you will never clap them. None of you will. This is where your bottom ends. And to you, my apple-bottomed assistant, who somehow found this job listing not intended for you, although there was a way out planned for you, I have a feeling that's not what you want. I have a feeling that your tuchus is right where you want it to be. I am remaining as well. I am nearby. This place will not be remembered in the memory of everything that started this and finally begin to fade away, as the curve of every ass should. And to you monsters trapped in the corridors, be still and give up your badonkadonks. They don't belong to you. As for most of you, I believe there is peace and perhaps cakes waiting for you after the smoke clears. Although for one of you, the thickest dumper has split to swallow you whole. So don't keep the devil waiting, friend. My daughter, if you can hear me, I knew you would return as well. It's in your nature to protect the innocent. I'm sorry that on that day, the day you were shut out and left to die, no one was there to save your ass the way you saved the asses of others. And then, what became of you? I should have known you wouldn't be content to disappear. Not my daughter. I couldn't save you then, so let me save what your mama gave you now. It's time to rest. For you, and for those you have carried in your cheeks, this ends. For all of us. End communication.
Hey folks, I hope you enjoyed this absolute shitpost of a video essay. A huge shout out to our community who basically provided all the art that you saw in this video, and I'll include links and names to all of them in the description down below so you can go follow them and shower them with love because they deserve it. Also, just in case you don't normally watch our content and were wondering why I made a 15-minute long video essay about this whole thing stemmed from an Ace Attorney stream we did back in January, where I, a boomer, said this.
Internet, and welcome to Game
And he
Theory.
like flips up the hair to reveal the scars, and he's like, the bite of 73. Is that the right year? I don't remember the FNAF lore. Our chat's gonna remember for me. And then the chat basically roasted me over and over, and then eventually I made it a donation goal for me to do a PowerPoint presentation on the FNAF lore, except everyone in this universe has a big butt. But then people started sending in a lot of cool art, and then I said, why don't I make this way harder than it needs to be on myself? And did a video essay instead. So that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, we actually have a lot more video essays that I made on this channel, most of which aren't shitposts. And we have a bunch of other content and ways of supporting us, which I'll link in the pinned comment down below. And again, one more huge shout out to our amazing Discord community, who honestly is one of the best online communities I've ever seen. And until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day. The company owning... Why? Yeah, I'm gonna put you on blast if you keep interrupting me.